I didn't think I'd ever share this publicly, but I'm doing it because I'm tired of holding it in. Yes, it's humiliating. Yes, it makes me angry just thinking about it. But mostly, it still hurts more than I'd like to admit. My name is Madison. I'm 35, and until last year, I was married to a man who treated me like I was invisible, unless he needed me to make him look good. We met in our late 20s. I was a full-time ghostwriter for nonfiction authors, tucked away in a quiet town in Vermont, living in a modest cabin I'd inherited from my grandfather. He was the loud, charming guy with a million ideas and a camera always rolling. Elliot, a rising YouTube personality building his authentic life brand from scratch. I met him through a client who wanted me to help punch up one of Elliot's early scripts. It started professionally. Then it turned into something else. He said I got him. He said he'd never met someone who made him feel more seen. I edited his writing, helped shape his online voice, even named the YouTube series that eventually made him famous. But of course, my name was never mentioned. Ghostwriting, right? We got married after 10 months. He convinced me to quit most of my clients and become his creative partner. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved the work. I was behind the camera, behind the copy, behind the man everyone praised for being so real. For a while, I didn't mind being behind the curtain. I told myself we were a team. But things started shifting when his channel exploded. Brand deals came in, interviews, podcast invites. He hired a manager. And suddenly the man who used to tell people, I couldn't do this without her, started saying, I built this from scratch. Fine. I swallowed it. I thought I was being supportive. That maybe, just maybe, I was asking too much to be acknowledged. But what I couldn't swallow was what happened the night he told me we needed to start building our family for audience engagement. Not for love. Not because we were ready. Because people love family content. I froze. I wasn't against having kids. I just wanted it to happen on our terms, not as part of a content strategy. That night, he came home from a live stream Q&A where someone had asked about our plans for children. I was making dinner. He sat down, didn't even say hi, and blurted out, You know, people are starting to ask why we don't have kids. It's kind of embarrassing. I looked up from the pan. We've only been married 2 years. He scoffed. Most couples get pregnant by now. Maybe it's not happening because you waited too long. You're 34, that's late. It hit me like a slap. I said maybe we should both get tested, just to rule things out, to know for sure. He laughed. Actually laughed. I don't need to get tested. I'm not the issue. Women your age have declining fertility. That's just biology. My hands were shaking. I turned off the stove. I didn't blame you, I said quietly. I just thought we were in this together. He rolled his eyes, grabbed a beer, and walked into the other room like I hadn't said a thing. That night, I barely slept. It was the first time I realized that to him, I wasn't a partner. I was a brand extension. And now that I wasn't producing results, content, or children, I was just excess weight. But what really broke me came 3 weeks later, when I found an open tab on his laptop while uploading footage for his next vlog. It was a DMs page. Private messages between him and a 24-year-old producer named Lexi. One message burned itself into my brain. I'm finally ready to be with someone who actually fits the image I've worked so hard to build. I clicked on the thread, and there it was. The whole affair. Dates, hotel meetups, plans for her to slowly appear in his content once I was out of the picture. That's when I knew. I wasn't a wife. I was a placeholder. And I was already being written out of the script. I should have walked away right then. After seeing those messages between Elliot and Lexi, after reading how he was already planning the rollout of his new image, after realizing that I was nothing more than a transitional phase in his brand, I should have packed a bag, left the house, and never looked back. But I didn't. I wish I could say I stayed because I was calculating some smart exit strategy, but the truth is uglier than that. I stayed because I still loved him. Or maybe I still loved the version of him that I thought existed. For 2 weeks, I pretended I hadn't seen anything. I kept cooking, editing, smiling for his behind-the-scenes posts like nothing was wrong. I needed time to figure out what to do, where to go. I had given up most of my clients for him, poured 5 years of my creative life into his platform. I didn't even have a personal portfolio. My entire career was wrapped around a man who was now planning to erase me like a bad draft. The final straw came on a Tuesday afternoon. He walked into the kitchen like he always did, barefoot, smoothie in hand, already talking into his phone. "No, babe, she doesn't know yet," he said, grinning. "But I'm gonna make it clean. Like, mutual. You'll look good, I'll look good. Win-win." I stopped chopping vegetables. He was talking to Lexi, in our house, right in front of me. He looked up mid-convo and said, "Hey, Mads, I was thinking, how would you feel about doing a video together? Like, a peaceful divorce kind of thing. You know, tell the fans we're just evolving in different directions." I laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. More like the sound your soul makes when it gives up trying to scream. "You want me to do what?" He kept a straight face. "I just think it could be powerful. 2 adults showing maturity. And you'd come off great. We could even link your book in the description." There it was. The final confirmation. He didn't want closure. He wanted content. I told him I'd think about it. That night, I quietly backed up all my files, collected screenshots of every DM, email, and contract I'd ever touched for his channel, and packed a single suitcase. I left while he was asleep. 3 days later, I filed for divorce. He didn't fight it. He didn't ask for a discussion. He just signed the papers like it was a brand deal that didn't work out. In the weeks that followed, he removed every video we had worked on together, wiped my name from every post, and replaced me, literally overnight, with Lexi. She was suddenly in thumbnails, stories, podcast guest spots. And you know what? The audience loved it. They called her a better fit, said she brought a new lightness to his channel. Meanwhile, I was back in my childhood bedroom, eating boxed mac and cheese and refreshing freelance job boards like a freshman out of college. I didn't cry much. Not because I wasn't hurting, but because the grief sat too deep to surface. Like I wasn't allowed to grieve something I should have known was fake all along. Then, out of nowhere, 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from a woman named Laura. She was a lawyer in LA representing an independent publishing house. Turns out, Elliot had submitted a book proposal using the exact material I had ghostwritten for one of his early series. Word for word. Only now he was trying to publish it under his name. As his origin story. Laura said my name came up because I was still listed as the last IP editor on the original Google Doc. And here's the kicker. He hadn't even bothered to scrub my metadata. When she sent me the manuscript, I almost threw up. It was my voice, my structure, my chapter titles. Elliot had literally repackaged my writing, the thing he used to call background noise, and tried to sell it as a memoir. I didn't even reply to the lawyer right away. I just sat there, holding my laptop like it was something radioactive. This man had erased me from his life, scrubbed me from his brand, cheated on me, replaced me, and then, as a final insult, tried to make a profit off the one thing he always said didn't matter. My words. But that wasn't even the biggest twist. Because 2 days after I declined to settle and agreed to testify if needed, the publisher sent me the press release Elliot had already approved for the book launch. It was scheduled for live announcement on national television, and they wanted me, the ghostwriter he thought he buried, to introduce him on stage. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. I just sat there, rereading the email over and over until the screen blurred. They wanted me, the woman he discarded, disrespected, replaced, to walk out on live television and hand him the spotlight. As if I hadn't already done that 100 times in private. It would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting. At first, I considered deleting the message and pretending it never happened. But then I remembered something Elliot once told me, back when we were still a team. when I still believed that meant something. You're the invisible engine. Nobody sees you, but nothing moves without you. At the time, I thought it was a compliment. Now I know better. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every invisible woman who got left behind while someone else took credit. So I emailed back. I'll do it. They booked my flight, my hotel, my wardrobe fitting. No one asked how I felt. No one brought up the divorce or the ghostwriting or the lawsuit still pending. Just smiles and logistics and a well-practiced script. When I arrived at the studio, Lexi was already there, wearing a bodycon dress and too much concealer. She didn't recognize me at first. Not with the makeup and the styled hair and the posture I'd spent weeks practicing in front of a mirror. But Elliot did. He froze when I walked into the green room. Smile turned to grimace in under a second. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Fitting, considering that's what I'd been to him for the last year. Madison? He blinked. You look different. I just smiled. Makeup? Lighting. Editing. You taught me well. He laughed nervously and looked around for a camera, like this was part of the show. Listen, he said, leaning in. Maybe we should pivot a little. I can introduce you. Say you're the one who inspired me. It'll look good for both of us. That was the moment I knew he still didn't get it. He didn't want to make amends. He wanted to manage optics. I told him to stick to the original script. Backstage, my hands were shaking. I could hear the applause, the opening monologue, the host warming up the audience. Then my cue. And now to introduce tonight's featured guest, a best-selling author in her own right. Please welcome Madison Quinn. The lights hit me like a freight train. I walked out, heels clicking, heartbeat pounding in my ears. I looked into that sea of faces, strangers, cameras, a few fake smiles. And I remembered every night I'd stayed up editing his voice while losing mine. I took a deep breath and stepped up to the mic. Before I introduce Elliot, I want to share a short passage from the book he's about to release. The crowd went silent. Page 17, paragraph 2. I learned the power of narrative from the woman who stood behind the camera, behind the screen, behind me, always silent, always steady. She gave me my voice. I paused. Those words were written by me. 4 years ago, in a document Elliot and I both had access to. He submitted it last month under his name. A collective gasp. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't need to. I'm not here to destroy anyone. I just want the truth to exist in the same space the lies were told. Then I handed the mic to the host, turned, and walked off stage without another word. Backstage was chaos. Legal teams scrambling, producers whispering frantically, Lexi shouting something about brand damage. Elliot tried to follow me. I didn't look back. I still don't know what will happen next. I've been advised not to post about it on social media, not to say anything else publicly until the legal stuff shakes out. But I needed to say this. Here, anonymously, to whoever's been where I've been. Erased, dismissed, replaced, humiliated. If you've ever been someone's silent so they could be loud. If you've ever watched your own story walk away wearing someone else's face, you're not alone. I see you. And I swear to God, the world will hear you. After the live broadcast, I didn't go back to my hotel. I walked 3 blocks in heels I had no business wearing, found the first open diner I could, and ordered a black coffee I didn't drink. My phone blew up for hours. Calls, emails, even texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some said I was brave. Some said I was messy. Some just wanted more details. I didn't answer a single one. Because even though I'd just exposed Elliot on national television, with a calm voice and receipts to back every word, I wasn't done. Not even close. He thought I'd disappear after that, retreat back into silence like a good little ghostwriter. But Elliot underestimated one thing. I wasn't behind him anymore. I was ahead. Here's what he didn't know. When I moved back home after the divorce, I didn't just start freelancing again. I started documenting. Every NDA I ever signed, every draft I'd written, every royalty check I never got. I compiled timelines, emails, revision notes. I even contacted a few of his past collaborators. Turns out I wasn't the only one who got cut out of credit. One of them, a documentary editor named Nina, gave me something I didn't expect. A full, uncut version of a creative process vlog Elliot had posted years ago. In the final version, he's pacing a room, whiteboard full of ideas, explaining his next original concept. In the raw file, he's reading my notes, verbatim. He'd literally printed my writing and was reciting it on camera. So while he was out there doing damage control, spinning the TV fiasco into a creative miscommunication, I was meeting with a copyright attorney. A good one. The kind that doesn't blink when the other side says, "We have influence." We filed the lawsuit 3 days later. But that's not even the best part. See, Elliot had lined up a TED-style keynote as part of his redemption arc. Same venue, same sponsor, same fans. This was going to be his big comeback. A chance to address the controversy and spin it into something inspiring. But you know what happens when you file a copyright claim against someone before they go on stage? They get served. Mid-presentation. Yep. The camera was rolling, crowd clapping, Elliot standing under a spotlight. And a process server walked right up and handed him a thick envelope with my name printed on the front. He tried to laugh it off. Guess I'm that popular, huh? But his hand was shaking. And the live feed? Cut. I thought that would be my moment, my ultimate revenge. And for a second, it was. But then came the real twist, the one I didn't see coming. 2 weeks later, I got a message request from a username I didn't recognize. Just one sentence. "You should know the real reason Elliot wanted a baby." I froze. I clicked the profile. Anonymous. No posts, no picture. Then another message came through, this time with a PDF attachment and a single line of text. He was trying to secure sponsorship from a family-based brand. The pitch deck included photos of you, and an unborn child you never had. I opened the file. There it was. A full brand campaign. A fake pregnancy timeline. Mock-ups of family moments staged in our old house. Even a section labeled Projected Engagement Increase, Q3 Baby Reveal. I couldn't breathe. He didn't just want a child. He wanted content. He was building a fictional family, with me as the prop, to sell diapers and dish soap and God knows what else. All while calling me too old, too infertile, not the right image. And I almost gave it to him. I almost believed it was my fault. To anyone reading this who's ever questioned their worth because someone else made you feel like a placeholder, you're not. You are not disposable. You are not scenery. You are not a subplot in someone else's performance. You are the whole damn story. After the pitch deck leak, things moved fast. Sponsors dropped him. His manager quit. His new content deals, the ones tied to family branding, gone overnight. But the one thing Elliot never expected was the part that hurt him most. His audience turned. I watched it unfold from the sidelines. Quiet, steady, unreadable. Not out of satisfaction, but because it was never about vengeance for me. It was about truth. People weren't just angry that he used me. They were angry he used them. He'd built a brand off authenticity, off realness, off being the man who kept it raw. And behind the scenes, he was scripting fake pregnancies and deleting collaborators like browser tabs. A few of his diehard fans tried to defend him, but even they couldn't argue with the screenshots, or the audio leaks, or the lawsuit. Yes, the lawsuit. It went public. My legal team filed for copyright infringement, emotional distress, and breach of contract. It wasn't even about the money, though, let's be honest, I wasn't about to turn it down. It was about setting the record straight. Permanently. In court, Elliot sat 3 rows away from me. Hair flatter, eyes duller, no camera crew, no Lexi, no charm. Just a man facing the mirror he spent years avoiding. I didn't speak much. I didn't have to. My writing spoke for me. Every version, every edit, every tracked change that proved the truth. When the judge ruled in my favor, Elliot didn't flinch. He just nodded, like he'd finally accepted that the story was no longer his to control. They ordered him to pay damages, issue a public correction, and remove all content derived from my work. But the money wasn't the victory. The silence was. Because for the first time since I met him, Elliot stopped talking. No live stream, no apology video, no final word. He disappeared from the internet 3 weeks later. And me? I published my second book under my real name. No pen names, no ghostwriting, no hiding. It wasn't about him. It was about women like me. The invisible ones. The ones who make things move and never get credit. The ones who were told you're too much or you're not enough. Sometimes in the same breath. I still get messages. From other women. From creatives who were pushed aside. From people who saw parts of themselves in what I shared. And the truth is, I didn't win because I destroyed Elliot. I won because I found a version of myself he couldn't delete. The loudest thing I ever said was the day I stopped letting him speak for me. What I learned? Don't let anyone treat your silence like consent. Don't wait to be enough for someone who benefits from your absence. And if you've ever had your voice stolen or your worth questioned, I hope you tell your story too. If this hit home, feel free to share your experience in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to follow along as I write my next chapter, you know where to find me. You deserve to be heard, loud and clear.